Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
May one continue to wear Shabbos clothing on Motzei Shabbos, which is Tisha Beav? Or should you go home after Shabbos, change your clothes to weekday clothing, and then come back to shul? So this question comes up every year on Motzei Shabbos Chazayin, and this year especially that Tisha Beav falls on Motzei Shabbos. What do we do with our Shabbos clothing? Do we remove it before Ma'ariv, or do we continue wearing it till after Ma'ariv, Eicha, and Kinnis? So in general, as we know, it's forbidden to wear Shabbos clothing during the 3 weeks, during the 9 days, as writes the Ramah in chapter 551, Halacha 1. And even on Shabbos Chazayin, many poskim, including the Ramah, rule it's forbidden to wear Shabbos clothing, and although we are lenient today not to show any avelus on Shabbos, and therefore we do wear Shabbos clothing on Shabbos Chazayin, certainly it would appear that as soon as Shabbos is over, one should be required to remove his Shabbos clothing. How strange does it look entering Tisha Beav, Eicha, and Kinnis with Shabbos clothing, a shtreimel and a kapata being worn. Accordingly, some poskim rule that in truth, right after the conclusion of Shabbos, after reciting Baruch HaMavdeh ben Kodesh L'chel, prior to Ma'ariv, you should remove your Shabbos clothing just like you remove your leather shoes on Motzei Shabbos, which is Tisha Beav, and come to shul for Ma'ariv and Eicha wearing weekday clothing. So is brought in the Ma'aril and brought in the Magen Avram 55910 regarding a bris milah, that even though a Baal bris may wear Shabbos clothing, as soon as the milah is over, the clothing should be removed. And so records Piskei Teshuvos Nidei Gavril and other Piskei Dereinu as the practical directive that should be followed. According to this approach, the shuls are to schedule that between Mincha and Ma'ariv, people can go home, change their clothing after Shabbos, and then come to shul sometime after Shabbos for Ma'ariv and Eicha. However, there are poskim who negate the above. The Eshel Avram of Butchach in Madura Tinyana 551 writes that there is no problem once you began wearing Shabbos clothing in a permitted method to continue wearing it, and you have no obligation to remove it. And therefore you are allowed to continue wearing Shabbos clothing even after Havdalah on Motzei Shabbos, even after the bris, as the Isser is only to put it on. Practically, how do we rule? So in essence, Minhag Yisrael is like this opinion that we stated. Not to be particular to change the clothing before Ma'ariv, so can be seen every single year on Motzei Shabbos during the 9 days, that people don't come to Ma'ariv wearing weekday clothing. The same Shabbos clothing they wore Shabbos Chazayin, or Shabbos of the 9 days, they come also from Motzei Shabbos to shul for Ma'ariv. And they don't make a break for everyone to come home, change their clothes, and come to Ma'ariv without Shabbos clothing. However, in years that Motzei Shabbos is Tisha Beav, the widespread custom today is to make this scheduled break and have everyone go home, change their clothing from Shabbos to weekday, and then come back to shul for Ma'ariv and Eicha. Although there is no halachic difference or differential between a Ma'ariv of a regular year of Motzei Shabbos, Chazayin, and Ma'ariv of this year, which is Motzei Shabbos Tisha Beav, nonetheless, it doesn't feel as right to be wearing Shabbos clothing when you're reciting Eicha and Kinnis, and therefore seemingly that's the reason why the widespread custom has become to switch clothing, specifically on Motzei Shabbos, which is Tisha Beav, before the recital of Ma'ariv. However, there are Anshe Maaseh who are particular even today to continue wearing the Shabbos clothing, even though it's Tisha Beav, and so is practically the Chabad custom to continue wearing the Shabbos clothing until after Eicha and Kinnis, and so was the custom of the Rebbe. In years that Tisha Beav fell on Motzei Shabbos, the Rebbe would wait in his room till Tzesek Yichavim, remove his leather shoes after saying Baruch HaMavdil, and then come down with the Shabbos clothing through, and sat with the Shabbos clothing throughout Ma'ariv, Eicha, Kinnis, etc. When Rabbi Groner one time discussed this matter with the Rebbe spoke very negatively of the opposite custom of going home and changing clothing. In the words of Rabbi Leibel Groner's diary, the Rebbe was very surprised at this and asked me to show him where it states such a thing. I showed him in the Sefer Tisha Beav Shechal B'Shabbos, which brings that a number of Chassidic communities are accustomed to do so, to switch to weekday clothing. The Rebbe responded in Yaakov Trinislav, no one did this and I do not understand this, and why to delay Meir for such a thing. Later the Rebbe said that on Motzei Tisha Beav, that this custom of delaying Ma'ariv to go home and change Shabbos clothing is a wild custom that was the custom of Hungarian Jewry, but not in Russia. And practically so is the Chabad custom till this very day, to continue wearing Shabbos clothing until after Eicha, and kinnis, and so has been verified from Rabbi Yehuda Leib Landau, the chief rabbi of Bnei Brak, that so is the Chabad custom to do so. Nonetheless, even according to the Chabad custom, and all those who are not particular to change their clothing, initially they should begin wearing their Shabbos clothing if it was taken off before Shabbos is over, meaning put on your hat, the shtreimel, the kapata, before Tzeitzei Kichavim, and then you continue wearing it afterwards. But not to wait till Shabbos is over and then start getting dressed again with your Shabbos clothing. This loses one of the main reasons behind the allowance that we brought from the Eshel Avraham Abuchach, and even though there's room to learn that even such a thing is permitted, nonetheless it's better to avoid entering to this situation, and therefore the clothing should be worn before Shabbos is over. According to everybody, one may not change his Shabbos clothing before the conclusion of Shabbos, and according to everyone, the leather shoes must be removed immediately after Shabbos and is not subject to the above discussion. So to summarize, as soon as Shabbos is over, we remove our leather shoes. Some are accustomed to also change into weekday clothing. Others are accustomed to remain wearing the Shabbos clothing they were already wearing before and not to remove them. And this is the Chabad custom and the custom of the Rebbe.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many Sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.